Florian Himsel's online right now. Let's call Florian and let's see what time it is. Time to patch it up. Mr. Himsel, oh, I am so enlightened to have you pick up the phone right now. How do you do, sir?
Hey, how's it going?
Well, I've been out here streaming a lot of video game gameplay, and the only thing that I see in my live chat is you need to patch things up with Florian because all I play is Binding of Isaac and Ballfrog, and I'm like, what? I can't enjoy these games? Like, no. You and Florian need to make amends. And I said, listen, I will lay everything forth to Florian, and I want to make sure that me and him are on the best terms. So please, Florian, please speak your entire life to me, and I will be so empathetic. And I would love to just really come forth in the best way.
Are you calling me from your live stream right now?
Well, you could say that. I am currently streaming to a handful of people, but I just happened to be gaming prior to this call. But I felt so, such a bad person. I said, listen, they're so on top of me about wanting to make peace, and I said, I just want to make sure that me and Florian can be on the best terms. So I did call you right now to these people. Yes.
Wow. They're bothering you about it too? Okay, well, I don't know.
Well, I mean, you probably don't know, but I've done a lot of Isaac gameplay, and I've done a good amount of Ballfrog gameplay, and I said, I don't keep in touch with, that man of our debate that from some months ago, Mr. Chris. I don't speak with that man anymore. He's very opposed to me, so I don't speak with that man anymore. And obviously, I do speak much with Mumkey, and I said, well, I have a high opinion of Florian, and if you want me to try and speak with him, I see he's online, and so I made the excuse me. I made the attempt or the forward meanings with which try and make amends.
It's pretty weird that you're trying to do this live. I don't know.
Well, I mean, it's just amongst a handful of my personal stream viewers who I just happen to have contact with. I didn't want to exclude them from my gaming, but there was a few remarks that were made by persons other than myself who said, hi, I am a viewer of Florian, and I'm a big fan of his reviews, the anti-reviews, and if you and him could make some sort of compromise, I would be happy. And I said, well, my personal self...
Normally what you do is you might want to call me outside of the stream later, but okay, I guess it's happening now then.
Yeah, and I would not be... I would not be offended or consider it so egregious if you said, nope, I'm still where I'm at, and that's fine. I just figured, we have a segment of mutual enjoyers who would like us, between yourself and I, to be more comfortable amongst ourselves. And if you're not of that opinion, that is perfectly fine. I do completely understand. But I said, well, he's just here in my Discord from a while back, and I would be more than perfectly fine to make that attempt. And so that's where we're at right now.
Okay, so where are you streaming to?
It's just a YouTube thing. It's not much. I haven't had a YouTube previously due to alleged violations, but I did make the attempt this time.
Well, what did you do allegedly, huh?
Well, it's funny actually. It was said in the termination email, I guess, was that I was violating restrictions. I did not actually have at that time a particular violatable standard or incident. It just said at that time, and I was like, well, I will not argue that. I'm sure that it probably is true. And ever since
Don't even deny it.
Probably November. I think it was about roughly November of the previous years when I've been back since on YouTube. But I said, well, I can't really in good faith deny that I've made a violation. I'm sure that I have, but there was no incident that was brought to my attention at that time.
Wait, so the last time you were banned was in November, is that it?
I believe so. I've had a Rumble account since the summer of 2023. Unfortunately, that website is not particularly reliable when I would like to use it, and that is what it is. I made another YouTube account so that I could be followed there for making announcements in regard to other websites, but I believe it was roughly in the fall of 2023 that my fitness account was deemed unworthy through multiple actions that were not specified to me at that time.
Yeah. See, I don't know. You guys probably think this is really lame, but I think it's probably not good for someone who has a big YouTube channel to hang out with someone who has a small YouTube channel who keeps getting banned. And like just like on the face of it, that seems like a decision that would be financially bad. Do you understand?
Yes, I would agree if YouTube's terms were a little clearer, as Twitch's terms are, with let's say Twitch.tv, where if you are associating with a negative person that you're
about like good or bad. I'm just saying that like I'm seeing that you in fact pose a financial risk to someone who has a successful YouTube channel, which isn't me.
Well,
I
would say that's the thing is no, without all offense, I just want to mention that as Twitch.tv that is certainly their standards, and if YouTube were to apply equivalent standards, I would completely agree, and I would certainly make a greater attempt to reserve myself from anybody else's programs. But with that being said, I have been involved with such large reaching channels as Brandon Buckingham and Turkey Tom and semicolon R, rather, as you might observe it in your
I wouldn't really
your search.
Hanging out with ER to be in your favor.
Yes, but but for our record, that he is a larger and monetized channel who has observed my existence, that is not detractive to his abilities to perform or to recruit larger viewership on his own channel, due to the fact that I had previously been obstructed for my own decisions.
The point being that ER is probably worse than you. So
well,
for him to hang out with you,
Florian, I do thank you for that. That you're giving me that. I appreciate that. Thank you.
I mean, doesn't he have like literal like Hitler stuff in it?
The only thing, my only agreement is being with Russia in a long-reaching political and geographical debate. So, Mr. Florian, I just want to say one thing, if you'll allow me. It's one thing, because I do have a gaming stream that I'm going to continue progressing. But if you will allow me the likelihood to consider this. Would you say that the Russia-Ukraine situation was a very stringent issue that where your consideration of me depleted considerably?
Why don't we just talk about your current view of Russia? Like, what do you think of them now?
To be honest, and I want you to hear me out on this fully, and I hope you do so. To be honest, I really do not have any strong opinion on them whatsoever. Tucker Carlson, whom I do not have a strong opinion on, however you might feel, He interviewed Vladimir Putin recently, and the opinion was so contrived to me that I frankly had no strong feelings about it whatsoever. I feel like it did not have a strong application to myself as an American citizen in the current year.
Okay, well, you're being very diplomatic here. Are you like afraid that your words might get you banned again?
Oh, no. I assure you that prior to our conversation, I've done very many bannable things under YouTube's terms of service. But frankly, as someone who is living a continent removed from that military confrontation, that what I observed in that most recent conversation between an American diplomat of Tucker Carlson and the Russian leadership, it frankly did not have any sway on myself personally in regards to what us Americans are experiencing at this moment.
Okay, well, I mean, it's a pretty... I mean, the situation between us is a little weird because, like, obviously you can do what you want, but I mean, I'm thinking that it's probably best not to hang out because of what you do, you know. And I don't want you to change because of me. That because like our friendship was never that strong. There will be a point for you to change for me. So.
Well, I hate to interrupt you, but that's very strong of you to say, in my opinion. And I want to say that had we been neighbors of something of the sort, I would certainly give you a handshake for making that opinion. But continue.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm thinking it's probably best to just not do like podcasts together. But I mean, I don't hate you or anything. I'm just thinking that it's like. Not the best, okay? I don't know.
All right, yeah, I think that's perfectly fine. I just personally, I mean, I hate to say this. You're probably thinking like, oh, no, well, it's probably going to put you on edge for me to say that. But if we're going to talk about a Ukraine and Russia debate, which myself, I am not particularly invested in the Russian opinion, but I just do want to mention that the Russian opinion that was provided to a American audience was that Russia is doing what it does in regards to a presence in Ukraine of neo-Nazis. Have you any strong opinion about that?
Well, I think that the Ukrainians are a nation of heroes, and the Russians are basically just fucking disgusting zombie orcs. And I feel as passionate about that as can be felt. Okay. So I don't know. You might think that's apparently misguided, or maybe you think that's racist or something. But
not at all. I mean, I hate to interrupt you, but you are a European, which I am not. And so you have a stronger tie to that land and to the situation than I do. So I am very happy to hear about what you have going on. To me, as somebody who is so far removed as an American, we've been described this situation as the Ukrainians are National Socialists and they put forward this quote-unquote Nazi ideology and that Russia is supposedly against it. That's what's presented to me. And so I feel very strongly in the fact that you can communicate with me as an American. You can give me your on-the-ground view, so to speak, that can enlighten me to what I'm not getting from the mainstream outlets.
Well, I mean, you would certainly not be getting that from the mainstream outlets, right? The liberal news would certainly not say that there's Nazis in the Ukraine, right?
I mean, in general, I would say yes, but there has been something called the Azov Battalion that we've been getting described of. The mainstream outlets are still stringently against the Russian occupation, as we all should be. We all should be. Anybody occupying another nation's borders, of course. But what I've been told is that the Russian occupation has been against this alleged National Socialist ideology that's been very strong and forthcoming in the Ukrainian borders. But with that being said, they still are saying, it's not what it seems, and that we should be still presenting ourselves formidably against the Russians.
That's pretty interesting. Like, where are you getting that? Because that is like straight up Russian propaganda is to even like dignify that. Because the Russians have just fucked up everything so royally. They have bombed like entire cities, and it's like, oh yeah, there were Nazis there. There were no fucking Nazis there. What are you kidding me? And the people in the Donbass there aren't even that many Russians there. There's not more than 50% Russians there. There's less, and it's so crazy that people can be like so unaware of the situation that they think that the Russians have an actual point with their ridiculous like. So there was so much destruction caused by the Russians, and to think that our American allies would be so uncertain about what is happening here is just like, it is just unacceptable to me. I know I may have a really strong opinion here, and there's Russian trolls everywhere that are trying to talk shit about the Ukrainians, who are just defending themselves. They're just in their own country trying to get the Russians out, and that is all. And the Russians just keep invading. And like the fact that the Americans aren't having our back more is disgusting.
Well,
but like,
I hate to interrupt you, but I do just want to make my point real quick, Florian. I mean, I find your point that you've just made completely agreeable. 100%, because you see, as an American, I've got no quote-unquote dog in this war. I've got no point. I know that the American people, you should have a dog in this war. This war is specifically Russia versus like the Western countries, including America. Like, you don't have a dog in this fight. I don't want to say, this might sound strange, but due to the fact that as an American citizen for a very long time, I mean, essentially my entire life, we have just never been provided a real, true enlightenment to our situation. We've all been in a situation where our livelihood has been on the decline. In my livelihood, and I think me and you, I'm not going to say anything that's going to I'm not putting words in your mouth, but I believe that both you and I are in a similar generation of early to mid 30s age at this time. And so with that being a situation that we're both in, I feel like, yes, it is a Russia versus the West. But at the same, I'm not going to say that the fact that I am born of the West is going to, essentialize that the West is the most intelligent or has the best strategy, the best tactics of a current debate, a current conflict. So that's just all I mean, is that, if you're very, which as I know you are, you're very of the Ukrainian opinion, you've found yourself to be backing them in the conflict that they're in. I have no reason as myself or those who are of a similar mindset to be debating or to be opposing the mindset of Ukrainians. And even if they did find themselves to be in a position where they're going to be so against an American statement, or to be so in favor of, I'm sorry, just fulfilling themselves at the expense of Americans. I've personally got no opinion against that, and if that were to totally decimate the Russian forces, the Russian opinion, I have no opinion against that personally. Because there's never been in my lifetime a situation where we found ourselves in opposition to either of those countries, really. Maybe perhaps the Cold War, but that's really a bit outside of my field of vision. And so, if Russia or Ukraine were to be in the position where they'd find themselves in such a great capacity to bless American citizens such as myself with those things that we've been seeking, medical treatment, security in food, security in rental properties, security in any of these things that we've been so hard up to find, I think that any of us would find ourselves to be supporting either of those nations at this time.
So you would support Russia if they just give you food and money? Is that it? You would be completely fine with them just destroying Ukraine if it benefits you just the tiniest bit? Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, I mean, when you say the tiniest bit, I don't know about that. If it benefited me substantially in my view of the world, that they would harm Ukrainians, I mean, I wouldn't say that I would feel positively about it, but I might not be as opposed to their actions as I would if it was completely and entirely a negative result for myself.
You have such a way with words.
Well, I don't want to interrupt you, but I want to say this for both of our sakes. I think you are very literal, and literary intelligence is high for yourself as well, and I think that's why you're a very successful man.
Thank you. Well, I mean, I didn't. That was just the weirdest way of saying that. Is what I meant.
Well, I mean, I don't want to say, oh, get him, God. I'm just saying we've all been born in a circumstance, Florian. We've all been born in a circumstance, and even if I were to be a very high fist raiser, torch holder against Russian, this, that, and the fourth, I can't guarantee. I feel like the Western imperialists are the ones who are holding the keys right now, and I feel like their support of Ukraine is it's insolvent, it's impotent. I feel Russian support of Ukraine is impotent right now because they're very in favor of themselves more so than anyone else, and that they certainly do not want to benefit the Russians. So I feel like being if I were to be in favor and benefit of Russian peoples, for my own benefit, I feel like I would do that because I'm like, I'm going to be me, but I don't think it's the great choice to make for overall support.
I'm really having a hard time parsing what you're saying. So you just said you would be for the Russians under what circumstance? That I didn't get that part.
Because I feel like overall the Western forces are making impotent decisions. I feel like they're making very self-serving decisions. And so they are, at this time, and in recent choices, they've been making very supportive decisions. I'm sorry to cut you off, but I'll speak it. I think they're making very supportive decisions to the Ukrainians' benefit, but I don't think that beyond a superlative, superficial choice that they're really behind these people. I think at the first sign of discord that they're going to retrieve themselves.
Like who isn't behind them? The Ukrainian people. What are you talking about? I
think as Americans, we just recently had a large portion of our tax dollars supplemented to support the Ukrainian persons and their war effort, but I don't think that beyond the tax money in this roundabout way, I don't think that there's people who are really willing to support that effort with their own persons beyond that taxation.
I mean, that money is what makes sense. Like, that money is what supports the Ukrainian soldiers. Like, that is the essential way of beating Russia.
Yeah, I just don't think it's. I mean, I feel like up to this point, it hasn't really made the difference. That's how I feel. I feel like we've seen.
Definitely made the difference.
Yeah,
and the delays have certainly made a difference too with the money. So like that money is definitely what's gonna win the war.
and it just might. And to be honest, once again, I hate to say this because it sounds so matter of factly, but frankly, as an American, I really have no dog in this fight. So if Ukraine were to beat Russia, I mean, I feel like Russia they had a stance in framing and fixing an election of ours that might have not been legitimate prior. And if that was the case, if Ukraine were to overcome Russia, then I would not mind that whatsoever, as long as our American circumstances were found to be legitimate. Otherwise, I just, in these last 2 to 3 years, I just feel like from what I've been presented, that the Ukrainian persons have not had that organic, legitimate bureaucracy. But with what you're saying and with what I'm hearing, if that were to be the case, that they've had a legitimate bureaucracy and that they've had an overwhelming support in favor of themselves and that they should have their own legitimate democracy, I frankly have no issue with that whatsoever. I just like to be the man who is backing the strong dog in the fight. And that's not really the extent of what I personally believe in this circumstance. So I have no problem patting the Ukrainian persons on the back, and if they've got the most to give and the strongest front in our situation, that will be most fine with me. So, Mr. Florian, I know my persons in my very small and exclusive live chat are wishing that I would get back to my video gaming circumstances outside of this political debate.
They can't make up their mind, huh? They don't want it.
I think they might be in the same pattern as me. So, Mr. Florian, you would agree with myself that if the Ukrainians have the most legitimate rights, they have the most legitimate outfit, and they should be the ones who are in control of their own destiny. We both agree that they are in the right in that. Would you agree with me?
I mean, that's yeah. I mean, I'm obviously for Ukraine, and I think they're doing the best they can.
All right, thank you. I'm happy to hear that because, like I said, it was presented to me in a particular way that put Russia at the forefront, but obviously as an American, Russia has been our enemy in the Cold War and other things of that nature, so I have no problem being in favor of the Ukraine as long as we are finding a common ground, and I think that you, Mr. Florian, have presented that to us. So I think we're very agreeable. Do you think, I'm going to give you two questions. For one, do you think that we could find ourselves both in a movie review podcast in an agreeable circumstance in the future? And secondarily, do you have any great expansions planned for the Ball Frog video game that many of us enjoy?
Well, it seems that there's probably no Ball Frog coming in the near future, but
okay.
I'm making different games.
I'm glad to hear that.
Well, I mean, I don't know. It's so hard to talk with you about politics. Like, I still don't know what the fuck you want. Like you talk a lot about different sides and what you've heard, but I don't know if you at all would support any aid to Ukraine or not, or if you.
Well, I mean, I hate to confuse you or to offer anything that is difficult to parse to you, but I would say if the aid to Ukraine would be, I'll say this, and this is a selfish thing to say, I really put forward that which is beneficial to what I would consider my fellow Americans who have a very high rate of unemployment and of substance abuse, and I'll include myself in that statistic. Just a lot of things that I feel like are more important at this time than a foreign supplement like what we are benefiting with Ukraine. But with that being said, I have no great loyalty to Eastern European countries, really in general, but to Russia. Yes, I'm sure you and I both know that there's been these large implements in Russian governments. Oh, they're not in favor of gay marriage or homosexual activity, and as with your Western sensibilities, that would imply and employ that we can't support these Russians.
But who cares about all of that when they're literally invading their neighbors? Like oppressing the gays is bad, but invading your neighbors is like a million times worse. Like, cut that out. Like we
very sensible. Yes, it's very sensible, and but I don't know if I have a particular how would I say this? The way that Russia is sensationalizing or making it known to everybody is that they are invading Ukraine due to National Socialist sensibilities. And perhaps I do not have at that time in my repertoire that Ukraine has truly put forth these National Socialist sensibilities. So with that being said, as I do not know, yes, nobody should be waging war on any country alongside them. And furthermore, I will say that my tax dollar is going to support Ukraine in a conflict that has not been fully registered to myself or my persons around me. That makes me uncomfortable because I just cannot know what exactly my tax dollars are supporting as far as a military conflict where loss of life is on the registrar.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking pretty much the same way I would expect any far-right person to talk about this, so...
Well, I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt you, but I mean, my main conflict is that I do not want to put my money. Let's say I got $1 to spend. I have half of it going towards it. You probably don't know this, and I wouldn't expect you to, but in the last 1 to 2 weeks, I just want to say this, I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt you, but in the last 1 to 2 weeks, I have donated about 2 to 3 weeks of my own income to homeless persons who were very deprived of common and how would I put this? The persons who are deprived of the common things like bathing and food and so on. I've donated a lot of that, my own personal income that I'm working heavily to acquire in the last 2 to 3 weeks. I just feel like, and I'll take it for what it is, but I'm putting that forth to these countries that I'm not familiar with, that are not adjacent to me, and I don't feel bad necessarily about providing that to these countries, but if I'm giving money to Ukraine, I hope that they've got a sensible plan to move forward with what I'm able to provide to them and not to stay in a sort of conflict with their neighbor that is not going to progress one way or the other. If it's progressing against them, all right, then we'll move from there, but
this is exactly what the far right people say when they try to stop the money going to the Ukraine. They just say, oh, the Ukraine doesn't have a plan. Oh, they don't know if they're going to win this war.
Okay.
Yeah, like they weren't ready for this war. They got invaded and they're doing remarkably well.
Okay.
So, like, why would you say that they're so bad at this? Okay, this is just the Russian propaganda spilling in. And the fact that you still keep hearing this far-right propaganda makes me think that we are very far apart politically still, as I predicted originally.
Mm. Yeah, when I walk outside my door and I'm on my way to work and I have persons in my country who are still starving or who are still disadvantaged when we're speaking about housing and necessities and so forth, I will admit, and perhaps it is a far right point of me, and that's nothing I can disagree about on that. But to provide those who are so immediate to me with what they are needing and a necessity versus those who are many thousands of miles from me and are needing for their war effort. And if all was perfect, I would wish I could do on both sides, but that's just how I feel personally about it.
Like, you could still support the homeless and support Ukraine. Like, you don't have to personally support Ukraine. You just have to let the government do its thing. Like, but you're saying no. Stop supporting Ukraine unless they do the thing with the like making a plan. And they have a plan internally. They don't need to give you the plan to America how they're gonna defeat Russia. Okay. Like, why are you trying to stop people from supporting Ukraine by making these points that the far right people keep bringing up? You know, that's something that Tucker Carlson might say. Oh, Ukraine doesn't have a way to win this war. Oh, they're full of corruption. Like, have you seen Russia? They have nothing but corruption. They don't have a single non-corrupted politician. Okay, in Russia, like, you're definitely supporting the better side if you're supporting Ukraine.
Okay, well. I think we're going to have to cut it here short in a little bit, but I just want to say one last thing. So, as a very neutral party as myself, so I am paying my taxes, and a large part of my tax money is going to Ukraine. I personally feel that Russia, I'm sorry to cut you off, but I'm going to speak my truth. I feel that Russia has nothing, there's no benefit to me supporting Russia. A portion of my tax money is supporting Ukraine, but I feel that it would be better to support American citizens at this time. Do we have any reconciling on that topic at this moment? And I don't want to put that on you, but would you feel the same for a Ukrainian citizen if your neighbor was more in need of that support than a foreign citizen?
I mean, like, I feel like this is a dishonest framing. Okay. Like,
well, I don't mean for that to be how you feel, but I'm just saying, as an American citizen whose money is going two ways.
Can we do a hypothetical?
Okay, go forth. I don't mind.
Okay, so let's say that we're in World War II. Okay.
Okay.
And we're talking. I'm saying that we should kill Hitler, and you're saying that no, we should actually support the homeless. Do you think that you would be reasonable to say no, we should not attack Hitler, we should focus purely on the homeless? Do you think that would be a reasonable position to have?
I would say I personally would feel what kind of intensity are we putting on these two issues, because if it was $1 million to support the homeless versus like $2 against Hitler.
Like, you're missing the point entirely. Like, obviously going to war is going to be bad for people, okay?
Yes.
Like, obviously,
I agree with that, yes.
Obviously going to war is going to increase the food prices, and that's going to make it hard for people.
Yes.
Okay?
Yep, okay.
So you're saying feed the homeless. Yeah, okay, whatever. Like, obviously if we're going to attack Hitler, then we're going to have like 1 million, 2 million, 10 million more homeless people, and then a lot of people are going to die. Are you gonna fight Hitler or not?
Well, as a sovereign citizen, someone who's just a regular Joe, I would feel that I should be entrusting my military complex to make a wise decision. If they needed to impoverish a certain amount of people to win the conflict, it wouldn't be great. I probably wouldn't support that necessarily, but I could understand where they're coming from. But if it was some consistent issue where they're continuing to deprive those in need with an uncertain timeline, I would probably be more forth to supporting the impoverished than I would towards the military system.
So we got How long was World War II? Was it 6 years?
Well, I think if we're talking about from when Hitler first gained power to the finale,
Poland,
I think it was about 8 or 9 years compared to the rise of Hitler versus the finale.
Okay, so if you're so now we're 2 years in, right? We've been fighting Hitler for 2 years.
Yep.
Like there's no win in sight. Like Hitler is spreading all over Europe.
Okay, that's
now,
true.
Would you say no? We're done. Would you say no? We gotta take care of our own people, or do you say we should continue fighting Hitler? Like this is. Don't give me any stupid answer. Okay, this is yes or no. Like either yes, stop the war and our people will stop starving, or no, we're going to fight Hitler and we're gonna take damage. We're gonna starve. We're gonna fight. People are going to bleed, but we're going to fight Hitler no matter if we're going to win. Okay, these are the two choices. So which one of these choices do you pick?
Well, I mean, I probably not going to like this, but as an American, I believe at that particular, if we're talking 2 years in, I think that the Americans in need were of a larger number than those who Hitler was lording over. So I would probably, at that time, if we're talking about 2 to 3 years into that conflict, I would prioritize Americans in need versus the Europeans who were suffering.
Okay, there we have it. We have our fundamental disagreement because you just said that you would let Hitler win. You just said that we're going to stop fighting Hitler.
Well, I mean, I don't want to put you. I will accept your terms, but I do just want to say for my own self, I don't think that Nazi Germany would have had some undisturbed conquering if I had prioritized American citizens in need.
No, you responded to a choice between continuing the war and stopping the war, okay? If you didn't understand that, you can change your answer.
Okay.
Like, we're talking here about continuing the war or capitulating and then taking care of the homeless. Which one do you choose?
Well, I personally just feel like it wasn't that cut and dry, so I think we do have a fundamental disagreement there.
No. I think that it is, because I think that if we are 2 years into World War II, okay, in this hypothetical, you understand, right? Okay. So you do understand that continuing to fight World War II will cause millions to go hungry, right?
Okay, yeah. Yep, I do.
Okay. And then the other option is to stop fighting World War II, let Hitler win, and feed the hungry. You understand?
I understand your argument, but I don't know. I mean, there's honestly no feasible way that we could find that to be concrete, accurate data.
We're just talking about a hypothetical where you have to decide if we're going to continue fighting World War II, okay?
Yeah, but I feel like that I'm just speaking of my opinion. I feel like if we were to continue that conflict, there's no way for us to know as persons who are outside of reality in that situation.
We are currently talking about World War II, okay?
Okay.
So do you support continuing to fight Hitler, or do you want to make peace and feed the hungry?
Well, speaking on conflict in Europe versus hungry Americans, I would certainly more rather to support a hungry American than to a conflict that has no bearing on that person.
Yeah, this blows my mind. Like, the fact that you would literally let Hitler win here in this hypothetical scenario just so that you can feed the homeless is blowing my mind.
Yeah, but I do want you to know, and I hope you would imagine this, or I hope you would at least acknowledge it, that this is a hypothetical that we could not possibly understand the repercussions of if it were to be real.
No, we understand it fully. Like, we go back to World War II, and then we decide to let Hitler win. That is the repercussions. Like, this is specifically the hypothetical, is that you are the king of America, and you decide that you're going to stop fighting Hitler and let him win.
Well, I got to take a pee, but I just want to say one last thing. Are you familiar with the fact that America only entered the conflict in World War II due to the fact that Japan did bomb Pearl Harbor? Other than that, they were not interested in being a part of that conflict. Are you familiar with that?
Well, I mean, there are greater concerns, but sure. Like, it doesn't matter, because we're 2 years into the war, and then here's Hitler, and he's got a peace deal where he gets all of Europe, and America goes back to doing what they want. Okay, like this is it. This is the
well,
choice.
I can understand that would be very detrimental to you and your people, and I would not feel good about that.
No,
but I have to as myself. I mean, it's sort of like.
Fine.
Well, listen, Florian. I just want to say one thing. If you would allow me to speak, I want to say one thing, and then I'll allow you the floor. But for myself personally, so I make probably about $4,000 a month. No. So let me finish my statement. I'm gonna finish my statement, Florian. I'll allow you the floor entirely, and you can speak many things. But I just want to finish my statement, if you'd mind. Thank you very much. So I personally make about $4,000 a month, and in the last 3 months, I have donated the entirety of my income in these last 3 to 4 months to American charities, which are helping the hungry, the poor, and the destitute. And that's just how strongly I feel about it personally. So I very well, and I admit this, I very well may be biased in a way that makes me not the right person to ask about these sort of hypothetical wartime questions. And I would like, if you would be so kind, if you'd be so practical, and if you'd be so forthcoming, and you do not have to, but I'm just going to present it this way, if you would be in that form, I hope that you would understand that maybe I, myself, and I, Mr. Toby Reynolds, am not the average World War II wartime debater, and I have a certain kind of empathy that might not properly flourish or flower with the reality that which you've lived as a European citizen and have lived amongst these decades of conflict that I myself as an American have not had to deal with. So with that being said, I do have to use the restroom soon, but I would like to hear out your final argument on this matter.
Well, I mean, like you in the hypothetical, you would have just been the king of America. You wouldn't have been poor or anything. And like the fact that you can't even say that you're going to kill Hitler if you had the chance. If you, like in the actual war, you wouldn't have condoned continuing fighting Hitler. That tells me all I need to know. But I mean, yeah. By the way,
I had multiple family members who died in World War II, and I would not care at all what the. I'm sorry to say this, but it sounds very informal. But if certain things had happened to the European persons, it would have been more advantageous to my American relatives had that happened. And I personally wouldn't mind what happened to European people, and it's ignorant, but that's just how I feel.
It would have been fine for me too. I guess I would just be a Nazi now. I guess my grandparents would have just been Nazis, and I would have just grown up to be a Nazi, and this would be our world, I guess.
Yeah, probably. You're pretty close. You're pretty adjacent to where they were at. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, Austria is where Hitler's from. Yeah, if Hitler had won, then I guess I would just be part of the German Reich now. I guess we would have both benefited. Sure to be a Jew, though.
Well, I guess if you agree with that, then yeah, let's go back in time. No, I'm just playing, Florian. Listen, Florian, I hope you know I like the games you've made. I really wish that me and you could patch it up. And that dude that we argued with, that Chris, he doesn't even talk to me anymore. So I hope that me and you could see eye. I mean, we don't got to see eye to eye, actually, but I hope we could. We've just done a 45-minute debates in front of a live stream. I hope that maybe in the future, me and you could find ourselves on a Mumkey presentation. I just want that. Yeah, I do feel that type of way. But I think me and you, we're not so different, Mr. Florian. But I'll ask for one last statement. I really do have to go pee, so I'm going to ask you for one last statement before I rock and roll. But what's up, brother?
I mean, I don't know. I think we're just politically very different, and I think it's probably not the best to continue doing podcasts, because, you say you just want to help the homeless. I personally helped the Ukrainians fight Russia. I personally donated to the armed forces of Ukraine, okay?
Okay, right. Yeah, me too.
We're both Yeah, okay.
Yep.
We're both living our values, okay? But like, I think you should think about this more because, like, you really think it would have been better if Hitler had won? Because, like, please, like, just because it benefits you and me, do you really think it's better that if Hitler had won? That's all. This is all this hypothetical has come down to is whether or not you would have.
I just want to say, I mean, we're talking about Ukraine and Russia. I was under the impression that Russia was very opposed to what the Hitlerian Germany would have put forward.
No, Russia is pretty much Hitler. Russia is Hitler. Russia is as bad as okay?
I'm sorry, you just caught me off guard with that. I mean, I don't want to defenestrate you, but I just feel like they literally killed each other a lot.
Yeah, they wanted to rule the world together, but then Hitler attacked Russia. Okay, like if Hitler hadn't attacked them, they would have been happy to have Ukraine be Nazified. Okay, everyone would have been Nazified, and Russia would have cheered them on. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you, Florian. I really do appreciate you spending a very large amount of time. Listen, I tell you, honestly, we've been, it's been almost an entire hour, and my people have been very grateful for your time, and I thank you so much for speaking with us. It's what we've all been looking forward to for a very long time, so I hope me and you can speak again in the near future, but otherwise, I hope you have a great day, night, weekend, week, wherever you're at. With that, other than that, thank you so very much.
All right, thanks for calling me. Have fun on your stream.
Will do. All right, take care.